Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. Welcome back. Hello, Bliss Chris. Hey, Snark. We missed you yesterday. Thanks for joining again, Lydia. It's nice to see you again. I hope you guys are having a great day. It's always a great day when it's Friday. So, I was scheduled for 3, and then I was like, well, I figured why not go early? So, here we are. Hey, Autistic Shield. Good to see you. Happy Friday. So today is Gypsy Rose Testimony Day. And I kept thinking, like, where's this medical examiner? Like, why are we not hearing testimony? And I kept hearing that it was in the beginning. And so I did some searching last night, and we already heard who that person was. And that person was the forensic investigator. So there wasn't a medical examiner. So that was interesting. I don't know why they didn't have an actual coroner or medical examiner testify in this trial. But yeah. So nobody actually testified like we typically see in criminal trials. Um so that was unusual to me. I don't know if that's unusual to anybody else, but it certainly is to me. So, I don't know. And I'm still hoping that they release Dee Dee's autopsy report in September. I know that sounds so demented and morbid of me, but nobody has seen this. And I feel like nobody has seen it for a reason, and I think that's why it's so intriguing to me, is because I'm wondering if there's more to it that is telling, if that makes sense. And maybe I'm thinking into it a lot more than I should. Sometimes I feel like if they are trying to withhold something like that, that it's a reason. There's a reason behind it. I don't know. I get into my head about things like that. I'm like, why are they trying to keep that hidden so much? So, anyways, um, I know that we've got Gypsy testifying today, and we talked about it yesterday, but we were going to play this again, even though we previously watched it in the beginning of this Gypsy Rose series, simply so we can keep this in order. And there were some people that missed it. And then after this, we have a couple of doctors that are going to testify to Nick's autism and his IQ. And I thought might be pretty interesting as far as, how he's housed in prison. I, I don't know if it's mentioned in his appeal. Um, Depending on how they testify, he might not be in the right place at the prison, like maybe general population is not the place for him. Um, and it could be on how or not he was manipulated, like is he easily influenced by someone like Gypsy, or I don't know. I haven't watched it, so um I guess we'll see. So I am going to start this off. I've already got my screen ready to go. And like always, if this is, what you say? Snark says, I don't think he would be good for general pop. I'm not thinking that he would be either, but I also I don't know, other than knowing that he um, has autism, I don't really know much about his um, like all of his medical conditions or um, I'm not educated within the autism spectrum and how individuals with disabilities such as autism would function when it comes to someone with like Gypsy who might try to convince someone like Nick to commit a crime such as taking a life. So, what did you say? And autistic shield would be a good one to speak on that. Um, I know that down the rabbit hole at bedtime would be a good one because she also um, has a career in that field. So let's see here. I'll get this started. And, um, down the rabbit hole at bedtime, she'd probably be willing to come on and talk about it as well because I know that she's pretty invested in the Gypsy Rose stuff. So I will get this going here.
What's going on? They call it State versus Godejohn matter. Parties are all present. Jury is not present. It's my understanding that you wish to call Ms. Blanchard as your first witness.
Yes, Judge, we would call Gypsy Blanchard to witness stand.
All right. And as agreed, you're going to have her seated
Yes, before the jury.
before the jury. And we'll go through. Hopefully, we'll be able to do it without a recess. But if not, we'll take a recess. But they won't see her walking because she's in restraints.
Correct.
So we'll give Ms. Blanchard in. And her attorney is here. So we note that. Yeah, Ms. Blanchard. So if you just have her come out here.
What did they say about they won't see her walking? About something or another? I'll have to go back and look at that. 'Cause, that's like, does the jury believe that they don't think she's wheelchair bound, do they?
Ms. Blanchard, just want to see everything. Yeah, be careful on that stuff. Have a seat. There's water there for you, I think, isn't there? There's a fresh bottle of water for you. Eat it. Okay? All right.
Also, as a side note, like Springfield is not incredibly big. And this is coming from it's only a couple hours away from me. I'm surprised that they didn't file to move it out of Greene County. I cannot imagine with the publicity that she had even prior to these crimes that the media just wasn't inundated everywhere, all over the place, before and after, that the jury pool wasn't tainted. It's really shocking to me.
It's settled in.
Oh, it's the restraint. Okay.
So we're ready for the jury?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Okay, bring the jury to the stand.
All rise.
She's so short, it didn't even look like she stood up.
Please be seated. Mr. Perry, do you have a witness you wish to call?
Gypsy Blanchard, Judge.
Ms. Blanchard, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give in the cause now pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Yeah, can't believe he has to read that off.
Please tell us your name.
He doesn't know that
Gypsy
by
Rose
now.
Blanchard.
What do you go by?
Gypsy.
Okay. Now, Gypsy, could you speak up just a bit? I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Any better?
That chair won't move. You can hold the microphone if you want to take it out. Just look straight out. There you go.
Is that better?
That's much better. How old are you?
27.
Where were you born?
Graceland, Louisiana.
Where were you living in the summer of 2015, in June of 2015?
Springfield, Missouri.
Do you remember the address?
I don't remember now. I'm sorry.
How long had you lived at that address in Springfield?
About 7 years.
And prior to that, where did you live?
Slidell, Louisiana.
And when did you move to Missouri?
In 2005.
And who did you move to Missouri with?
My mother,
And what was her name?
Claudina Blanchard.
Did she go by any other names?
Dee Dee.
So if I say Dee Dee, you'll know who I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Do you know a Nicholas Godejohn?
Yes, sir.
And when did you meet Nicholas Godejohn?
In October of 2012.
How did you meet him?
On an online Christian dating website.
Do you remember the name of that site?
ChristianDatingForFree.com.
How old were you when you met Nick?
About 21.
In June of 2015, what did you consider your relationship to Nick to be? What kind of relationship?
We were boyfriend-girlfriend.
And when did you become boyfriend and girlfriend?
In October 2012.
When did you first meet Nick in person?
March of 2015.
So between October of 2012 and March of 2015, you hadn't actually met Nick in person?
That is correct.
What type of relationship did you have during that period of time?
Online relationship.
And by online, what do you mean?
Strictly communicating through Facebook.
Any other ways other than Facebook?
Instant text messaging, emails.
All by way of computer and cell phones?
Yes, sir.
Did you send videos to each other?
Yes, sir.
Prior to March of 15, when you indicated you met Mr. Godejohn for the first time in person, had your mother met him?
No, sir.
Did she know he existed?
No, sir.
Why is it she didn't know?
Because it was a secret relationship and my mother would never allow me to have a boyfriend.
Why not?
Because she controlled every aspect of my life.
Did you and Nick ever talk about the fact that you were not allowed to date?
Yes.
How many times do you think?
I don't remember.
Did you and your mother ever have any discussions about whether you were ever going to be able to date?
Yes, sir.
Did you and Nick talk about that?
Let's see. Autistic child. Just so you know, along with mine and Steffi's diagnosis, I volunteered with special needs children from grades 2 to 6 and grade 7 at the special needs institution from age 13 to 18. I have teachers, assistants, and daycare certifications, and I worked with special needs group homes for 4 years until I went on disability. Um, Autistic child, we've talked a handful of times about coming up and talking. The invitation is definitely still open, so you can always reach out to me and let me know.
We may have.
What did your mother say about your ability to date going forward?
She said that it would never happen, that she would never allow it.
What about marriage? Did you and Nick ever talk about marriage?
Yes.
Did you and your mother ever discuss whether or not you'd be able to get married someday?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
She said that she wouldn't allow it.
In June of 2015, were you in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Did Nick know you were in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Why were you in a wheelchair in June of 2015?
Because my mother forced me to be in one.
Do you know why you were forced to be in a wheelchair?
No, sir. She just forced me to be in one.
And how long had you been in a wheelchair as of June of 2015?
Since probably I was about 8 years old.
Was there a time between when you first were put in a wheelchair and June of 2015 that you figured out that you really didn't need to be in a wheelchair?
Yes.
When was that?
I always knew that I didn't need the wheelchair.
And how did you know that?
Because I could walk.
Did you and your mother obtain any kind of advantage by you being in a wheelchair?
Yes, sir.
What kind of advantage did you obtain?
Financial, attention, charity.
financially need money.
Yes, sir.
Did you obtain money as a result of you being in a wheelchair?
Yes, sir.
How'd that work out? How'd that happen?
Judge, I'm going to object to the relevance of that. There's been no connection that the defendant knew any of this.
Well, I'm assuming, Ms. Perry, you're going to tie this up.
Well, right now. Did you and Nick
Still
ever
so
talk about the fact
disgusting you did that.
that you didn't need to be in a wheelchair?
Yes.
Did you ever talk to him about why you were required to be in a wheelchair?
Yes.
I'll overrule the objection.
Could you tell the jury why it is that you obtained money as a result of being in a wheelchair?
Because people felt sorry for me.
And they would do what?
And Judge, I'm just going to object to general relevance at this point.
I'll allow it for the time being. You may answer, ma'am.
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
Asked you why you attained an advantage for being in a wheelchair. You said people gave you money. And I think my next question was, why did they give you money?
Because they felt sorry for me. They believed the lie. They believed the fraud.
When did you tell Nick about the wheelchair? That you being in a wheelchair?
I think maybe a month or so after we met.
When did you tell Nick that you didn't need to be in a wheelchair?
A year into our relationship.
She called it the fraud. Like, why didn't they get her on fraud charges? I don't get that.
So if the relationship began in October of 2012, it would have been sometime in 2013 that you first told him that you really didn't need to be in a wheelchair.
That is correct.
Were you ill during this period of time?
No, sir.
Did you ever tell Nick that you were ill or that you had illnesses?
I told him that I had illnesses. Yes, sir.
Did you ever tell him that you really weren't ill?
Yes, sir.
When did you tell him you really weren't ill?
The same time that I told him that I didn't need to be in the wheelchair.
What illnesses did you believe you had?
Cancer. Muscular dystrophy. I needed glasses. I needed hearing aids. Seizure disorder. And I can't remember what else.
And when did you figure out that you weren't actually sick?
I started to piece things together when I was about 19 years old. Then I didn't understand the full extent of how healthy I was until after I got arrested.
So even at the time, even as of June of 2015, you still believed you had some of the illnesses?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever run away?
Yes, sir.
When did you, and by run away I mean from your mother,
Yes, sir.
when did you run away?
In the spring of 2011.
Did you tell Nick about that?
Yes, sir.
When did you tell Nick about that?
I don't remember the exact time.
Was it before your mother's murder?
Yes.
Did you ever consider running away after that? After you ran away in 2011?
Yes, but I knew that it would end badly.
What happened when you ran? Tell us about running away in 2011.
It was in the middle of the night, and I packed a small bag of stuff, and my mother was asleep, so I left the house, and I met up with one of my friends.
And where did you go?
To first at Mercy Hospital in Springfield, and then to his house.
And at some point, did your mom figure out where you were?
Yes, sir.
And when was that?
4 hours later,
What happened when your mother figured out where you were?
she took me back home. She smashed my computer and my cell phone. She chained me to a bed for 2 weeks.
Did you ever tell Nick about all that?
Yes.
That's the only time you ran away?
Does anybody know if there was ever any reports or anything that came out about her being chained to a bed for 2 weeks? I mean, I assume she never made police reports on it, but like, has there been anything other than her word in this testimony about it? That never happened? Okay. I mean, it sounds absolutely insane, but then again, a lot of what's happening to them with all this fraud and everything seems insane to me.
Did you receive any other physical abuse as a result of running away other than what you already told the jury?
Yes.
What other abuse?
Hitting, punching, starvation.
Did you tell Nick everything that had happened between you and your mother during the course of your relationship with him?
Most, but not all.
All the stuff we talked about is stuff you actually did tell him,
Yes.
and stuff he knew as of June of 2015.
Yes.
Hey, Shiva.
And when did you tell him these things? All at once or over a period of time?
Over a period of time.
Beginning at what point in the relationship?
He knew since day one that my mother never allowed me to date. But I don't remember exactly when I told him every single little detail that was going on in my home life.
But you did tell him everything you did tell him by the time of June 2015.
Yes, sir.
I assume since you believed you to be sick, you met regularly with doctors.
Yes, sir.
Did you also meet with social workers? Or do you remember that?
No, sir, I don't remember.
Why didn't you tell your doctors that you didn't really think you needed to do a wheelchair?
Judge, I'll object to the relevance of that. That's outside the scope of the knowledge the defendant would have.
Mr. Fair?
Judge, I think it is relevant. It goes to, it really goes to why this whole thing happened. The fact that, I'm glad to explain it, but I really don't know we should explain it on the record.
Yeah. Can we go back?
Let's see. Lydia says in her interrogation, she never once mentioned abuse. That would be the first thing she would. Yeah, she made it seem like this. Oh, that's funny. It says has become a member, but you've been a member for 5 months. Thank you for 5 months, Autistic Shield. We're actually, I just got monetized in December. So you've been here for almost since the beginning. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, in her interrogation, she made this like it was all about Disney and just these wonderful stories. Oh, there's I just see it now. Yeah, thank you again. I do appreciate all of you guys.
I'm going to allow it for the time being. Let's not get too far afield in it. Do you need the question repeated, please?
Yes, please.
If you'd repeat it, Mr.
I would be glad to. Why did you not tell doctors that you knew you could walk or you didn't believe yourself to be ill during the time that you were doing this?
I didn't think that anyone would believe me. I thought they would eventually tell my mom, and that would make my home life even worse for me. I feared her more than I feared anyone else.
Where's your father during this time?
Louisiana.
That's
You
so
ever talk to
true,
your father?
boss.
While you were in Missouri?
It's a complicated answer.
Did you ever speak to him on the phone?
I did, but my mother was always present.
Did you ever tell him what was going on?
No, sir.
Now, earlier you told us you met Nick for the first time in person in March of 2015. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And where did you meet him in person?
A Springfield movie theater.
What movie?
Cinderella.
How is it you were able to meet with Nick in March of 2015?
I paid for his transportation, his lodging, to get there.
Why did you pay for it?
I didn't think he'd have enough money.
And you say you met him at the Cinderella movie. And was your mother present?
Yes.
Did you and Nick talk that night?
Yes.
How did that work out?
It didn't go well at all. My mother hated him from the moment they met.
Did you guys watch the movie together?
Yes.
Did your relationship change in any way that day?
Yes.
How?
We got to see each other in person for the first time.
Did it become physical that night?
Yes.
And you know what I mean by physical, don't you?
Yes.
What do I mean?
We had sexual relations.
And where?
In the bathroom stall of the men's bathroom.
What was the point of you and Nick meeting up during the Cinderella movie? Were you guys trying to do something?
Yes.
What?
I was trying to introduce him to my mom so my mother would allow me to date.
You said that didn't go well.
No, sir.
Now, where did Nick live?
In Wisconsin with his mother.
Did you and Nick ever talk about any disabilities he may have?
Yes.
What disabilities did you understand him to have?
Asperger's syndrome.
Did you know what that was?
No, sir.
Now, you indicated that you paid for this trip to Missouri by Nick in 2015. What all did you pay for?
I paid for the Greyhound bus ticket. I paid for the hotel and for eating money.
And how did you pay for this? How did you get the money to Nick?
I stole the money from my mother and I sent it to him via the mail.
Did you wouldn't mind speaking up just a bit?
Yes,
A bit more thought.
Sorry.
I think you said you put it in the mail?
Yes, sir.
In what form was the money?
Cash.
Do you know how much you sent him that time?
I don't know the exact amount. Probably about $800.
And how would you get the money how would you steal the money from your mother?
She kept it in a money pouch.
What were your feelings for
If she was able to steal all this money and like sneak off to the bathroom with Nick to do all this, and she's supposed to be in this wheelchair and, like mail him all this stuff. It sounds like she had more freedom than she lets on, because how would she be able to get away with that if she was so controlled?
Nick in the spring of 2015?
I loved him.
Was there a point in this relationship that you considered yourself, that is you and Nick, to be more than just boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes.
When was that?
We had plans to marry.
Any other plans for your future at that point?
We planned to have kids. Yes.
Did you do anything to prepare for having children with Nick?
Yes.
What did you do?
I stole baby clothes and things for a child.
And how would you steal baby clothes?
I was in the wheelchair, so I would steal them from Walmart.
And where would your mother be when you did this?
She would have been in a different aisle or a different section of the store.
And was she aware of any of this?
No, sir.
At some point, you decided to kill your mother. Is that correct?
Yes.
When was that?
Thoughts of it started a year prior to the murder actually happening.
Whose idea was it to kill your mother?
Mine.
Why did you want to kill your mother?
Because I wanted to be free of her hold on me.
Did you and Nick ever talk about this?
Yes,
Who initially brought up killing your mother?
I did.
Like no
Why not just
emotion.
tell somebody rather than kill your mother? Why was that not an option?
I truly didn't believe that nobody would believe me if I told anyone. My mother had legal documents in place saying that I was incompetent, and I thought that meant that if I went to anyone, the police, or told anyone, she would just have them convinced that I was making everything up.
At some point after you initially considered killing your mother, did you ever change your mind?
Yes,
Do you know when that was?
about 2 weeks before it happened.
Why did you change your mind and decide not to kill her?
I started having doubts, second thoughts.
Did you ever then change your mind back to the initial decision to kill her?
Yes.
Why did you change your mind back to killing her?
My mother and I got into an argument 2 days prior to the murder occurring. And Nick asked me, are we still doing this? And I still, coming there to do this? Yes or no? And I said yes.
Who talked you into killing your mother?
I did. I talked him into it.
During the time you and Nick were together, did you ever engage in fantasies or role playing or anything like that?
Yes.
Did you have names?
Yes.
Tell us about the names you utilized.
Ruby, Candy, Kitty, Bella, Simona.
Why did you have different alter egos?
I made them up because he told me that he had various alter egos. And so I created mine to fit the ones with his.
And who came up with your names?
I did.
And do they each represent a different type of person?
Yes.
Was this real?
It was fantasy.
Who is Demona?
She's a character that I came up with.
And what was the character?
She's half werewolf and half human.
Who is Kitty?
She's like a childlike girl.
Ruby?
She's my evil side.
What about Candy?
She's more of the slutty side of me.
Did you also have wigs?
Yes,
Why did you have wigs?
to change the different hair colors of the characters, and because I didn't have any hair at the time.
And why did you not have hair?
My mother would shave off my hair and tell people I had cancer.
Was any of this stuff non-consensual on your part? The personalities?
No,
Now, you mentioned the idea to kill your mother came out about a year before it happened.
yes, sir.
And what was going on in your home life that made you reach the point where you did that or made that decision?
I was growing increasingly desperate to get out of my home life.
Did you tell Nick that?
Yes,
And what was your mom doing that caused you to be more desperate?
things were getting physically and more physically abusive. The hitting was more. The starving was more.
Now, you mentioned you were in a wheelchair. Were you required to act any certain way when you were in a wheelchair?
Yes, sir.
How was that?
She would have me stay very quiet and pretend like I couldn't walk.
Mr. Perry, can we pause for a second?
Yeah.
Can I sit down a second? I don't know if you can smell. We'll just check out to see what it is. Oh, and I can remind you of what you were told at the first reset, or permit anyone to discuss it or to decide. Excuse me. Do not do any research or investigation on your own about any matter regarding this case or anyone involved with the trial.
So that was, I don't know.
You don't want to hold the microphone. This one's pretty sensitive.
I don't like holding it.
You like holding it? Okay. That's and there's tissues for you.
Hey, Kendra. Kendra, are you doing Chris Watts today? Just let me know.
You don't have to send this one to you.
Now, I want to start talking about June of 2015. You mentioned that you had decided to kill your mother at some point.
Yes, sir.
Was that the only plan you ever had in terms of how to get out of your situation?
Besides running away, that is the only thing.
Did you have other alternative plans other than killing your mother?
Yes.
How many plans altogether did you have?
3.
Okay. Did you have names for those plans?
Yes.
What were the names?
Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C.
And could you tell us about the other 2 possibilities other than killing your mother?
Yes. Plan A, we already had tried that, which was to meet up at the movie theater, act like we never met before, and try and start a relationship from there, with my mother's permission.
And what was the other alternative plan?
Another one was for me to get pregnant. I believed that since he would be the father, he would have to be in my life.
Now, Nick came down to Springfield again in June of 2015, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Who paid for that trip?
I did.
Why did you pay for that trip?
Again, I didn't think he had enough money.
And how did you get money to him to come down on that trip?
I stole money from my mother, and I sent it to him via the mail.
Do you have any idea exactly how much money you sent to Nick?
Over $1,000.
And in these 2 trips to Springfield, how much of his own money was used?
I do not know.
Are you aware that he spent any of his money on either of these 2 trips?
No, sir.
Do you know when he arrived on the second trip?
Yes.
And when was that?
I believe it was June 8th of 2015.
And how long did he stay this time?
Only a couple of days.
And was this when your mother was murdered?
Yes.
And when was that, specifically?
June 10th, 2015.
Do you know about what time she was murdered?
Maybe about 3 a.m. in the morning.
And after her murder, what time did you leave?
Maybe 6 in the morning.
After the murder, where did you go, you and Nick?
We went back to the hotel, the Days Inn Hotel.
Now, while he was on his way down here, did you guys talk?
Yes.
How did you communicate?
Text message, Facebook.
And the state has introduced into evidence a knife, and I believe it is State's Exhibit 145. Did Nick have a knife that was used in the murder?
I supplied the knife.
Where did you get the knife?
I stole it from Walmart
And why did you steal it from Walmart?
because I didn't see a knife that was sufficient enough in our own home.
There was also some gloves that have been introduced into evidence.
Yes.
Where did Nick get the gloves?
I supplied them.
And where did you get the gloves?
They were already in our house.
What makes
How
a
did
knife
Nick know
sufficient
when to do
enough?
this crime? Time-wise,
To her.
that morning.
I told him.
Who planned this murder?
I did.
Did Nick do any of the planning in this murder?
He may have had one or two.
Do you know what plans he provided?
He decided what the weapon would be.
Have you discussed alternative methods of killing your mother?
Yes.
What other alternatives have you considered?
Poison, arson, a gun.
Why did you not consider poison?
It was too hard to find an odorless, tasteless poison.
Why didn't you kill your mother?
I didn't believe I could do it.
Could you explain what you mean by that?
I don't like blood. I don't like the sight of blood. Frankly, I'm too squeamish, so I just honestly didn't believe I could do it on my own.
After the murder, how long did you and Nick remain in Missouri?
Maybe 2 days.
And where were you planning on going?
Back to his mom's house in Wisconsin.
Did you encounter any problems that caused you to be delayed from leaving Springfield?
Yes, sir.
What problems?
His return bus ticket, there was no room for an extra passenger on that bus, so we had to change bus tickets. So that delayed us about a day.
And where did you go that extra day?
We went back to the motel,
What motel?
Days Inn.
Why did you go to that motel?
That was the motel that he was staying at.
Who paid for that motel room?
I did.
Who went in to reserve the room?
Nick did.
Why did Nick go in and make the reservation if you were paying for it?
I didn't want to be seen.
Why did you not want to be seen?
I didn't want to be recognized.
Did you go anyplace else other than Days Inn while you remained at Springfield after your mother's death?
Yes.
Where?
The Waffle House right across the street. The post office. Walmart. And of course the Greyhound bus station.
Okay, let's take them one at a time. Why did you go in the Waffle House? That may seem like a silly question. Why did you go in the Waffle House?
Because we were hungry.
And when did you go to the Waffle House?
I think it was the morning of the 12th.
Why did you go to the post office?
To mail the knife back to his mother's house.
And who decided to mail the knife through the mail?
I did.
Why did you decide to mail it through the mail?
Because he wanted me to take it in my backpack, and I never had ridden on a bus before, and I didn't think that there were any way that I could get it through without being undetected. So I
Hey,
figured mail
KJ,
it.
it's good to see you.
People mail knives all the time. If they buy knives offline, nobody will know the difference.
The return address on the package, what return address was it?
Mine.
And it was mailed to his house in Wisconsin?
Yes, sir.
Why did you go to Walmart?
We needed a few extra things.
Did you go in Walmart?
No, sir.
Why not?
I waited outside with the luggage.
Did you go to the post office?
Yes.
Do you know exactly when you arrived in Wisconsin?
I believe it was the night of the 13th.
And did he have family that he lived with?
Yes.
Do you know who the family was?
His mother, his stepfather, and his little brother.
And how long were you at the house until law enforcement came?
2 days.
What were your plans going forward? What did you plan on doing?
Just staying with him and living forever there.
Did you thought that possibly the police locating you? Did that ever occur to you?
No, sir.
Such an idiot.
What did you think would happen to you?
Thought maybe that if people knew that I was gone, they would just think I was missing. And missing people go, unfound all the time. So I just thought I'd remain a missing person.
Her
Now, there was
voice
a Facebook
isn't
post made about this
distinct.
case. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Do you know where that Facebook post was made, on whose account?
Yes, sir.
Whose account?
My mother's.
What did the Facebook post say? If you can recall exactly, or close to it.
That bitch is dead.
Was there a comment in the post as well about the daughter?
Yes, sir.
What was that comment?
I don't remember exactly how it was worded. It's something to the fact of, I raped her sweet innocent daughter. Her laugh was so fucking loud.
Who made that post?
I did.
Did you make that post pretending to be somebody else?
Yes.
And who were you pretending to be?
Nick.
And why would you make that post claiming to be Nick?
I wanted her to be found. I wanted the cops to find her body.
Now, when you and Nick left her house, did you take any money with you?
Yes.
How much?
A little over $4,000.
And where did you get that money?
I stole it from my mother's safe.
While you were gone, how much of that money did you spend?
A couple of $100.
Just one moment, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Just so nonchalant, emotionless about it.
Gypsy, just a couple more questions. Did your mother own a car?
Yes, sir.
What kind of car?
Okay,
I can't
Kendra.
remember what it's called now. It's a little Nissan Cube, I think.
Okay. Why did you take the Nissan Cube?
I don't know how to drive.
You have a driver's license?
No, sir.
Did Nick have a driver's license?
Yes, I think so.
That's all the questions I have, Judge.
Thank you. Does the state have questions?
Yes, may I move the TV? I'm just going to show Ms. Blanchard a few exhibits.
Sure. Make sure you can see it, okay, Ms. Blanchard? Can you all see it? Okay.
Ms. Blanchard, you and I have talked before, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions, okay?
Yes, sir.
You were asked a little bit about, during your relationship, that these alter egos that the defendant and you came up with. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
It was the defendant who first introduced you to that idea of alter egos.
Yes, sir.
And he actually first told you about his alter ego, Victor. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And Victor was a vampire that was 500 years old.
Yes, sir.
And you decided to come up with your alter egos just to kind of please him.
Yes, sir.
And also, as part of
Wait a minute.
this thing,
Do I have the chat on members only? Let me look. Because I might. I'm like, wait a minute here. Did I forget to change it? I might have. Because I was just setting up the redirect after this live, and I'm like, holy shit. I don't think because normally if I leave a stream, my page account, and then I can see BRB. Okay. Because I normally always set it to like 11 minutes after I switch it back. And then when I was setting up redirect, it said members. And I'm like, wait a minute. It might be set to members only right now in chat. If it is, I apologize to anybody that has been watching
fantasy.
us. Couldn't chat.
You also started to kind of consider yourselves as master and slave, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the defendant was the master,
Yes, sir.
and you were the slave.
Yes, sir.
And at one point, he had sent you basically like a bill of sale, kind of ownership papers. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And those papers would basically mean that the defendant owned you.
Yes, sir.
And you also were asked a little bit about the videos that you and the defendant sent back and forth. Do you remember
Does
that?
the numbers only? Okay.
And on a lot of those videos that you would send, the defendant would actually send you a script beforehand, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that script would instruct you on what to do in the videos.
Yes, sir.
And they weren't always things you wanted to do, correct?
That is correct.
But you did them anyways,
Yes, sir.
because the defendant told you to.
Yes, sir.
Then at some point also, the defendant at least communicated to you about rape fantasy. You recall that?
Yes, sir.
And you weren't crazy about that idea, correct?
No, sir.
But I believe that as you described it before, you kind of just let him talk about it, correct?
Yes, sir.
To indulge him.
Yes, sir.
The defendant had told you that he had Asperger's, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the only real symptom or maybe personality trait that you noticed that you thought was a result of that was that he insisted that you always capitalize his name.
Yes, sir.
And he would get mad at you if you would talk to him and not capitalize his name, correct?
That is correct.
Prior to, you and the defendant first discussed the killing of your mom, I believe you said about a year prior, correct?
Yes, sir.
And prior to that, you had
Think
thought
you have
about
to
it
six show.
before, correct? Like just as a thought.
Yes, sir.
But it was once you were with the defendant that it really became a constant thought, correct?
That is correct.
And that was because the defendant had introduced you to some dark fantasies, correct?
That is correct.
And you felt by being with the defendant and these dark fantasies, that kind of helped bring that out of you.
Yes, sir.
And actually, at one point, the defendant told you he was an assassin in another life.
Yes, sir.
And that as an assassin, he could protect you or take care of you, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you had come up with the alternatives. I believe it was 3 plans, right? Plan A, B, and C, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the decision to murder your mom was always the last resort, correct?
Yes, sir.
But the murder was referred to as Plan B, right?
Yes, sir.
So A, B, and C kind of are a little out of order. Is that there?
That is correct.
Okay, so A is try to get mom to like defendant, correct?
That is correct.
And then C would be try to get you pregnant.
Yes, sir.
And you discussed those alternative plans with the defendant, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you discussed the fact that murdering your mom would be a last resort. You discussed that fact with the defendant.
Yes, sir.
Because you both knew that was a serious thing.
Yes, sir.
And the defendant knew that as well.
Yes.
At least he communicated that to you.
Yes.
So killing her mom was a better option than getting pregnant.
And when it came to the movie theater, I think we heard that didn't go very well, right?
That is correct.
And
I mean,
basically,
both
your mom
dumb as hell for her,
thought
but
a 26-year-old
what a
guy
weird
at
thought.
a Disney movie by himself may be a little creepy.
Yes.
Okay. So that plan didn't go well. And then when it came to the pregnancy, which I guess would be Plan C, at some point the defendant didn't really want to do that plan anymore, correct?
He wanted to do it, but his mother wouldn't allow it.
But so he basically told you, communicated to you, I can't do Plan C.
Correct.
But a couple weeks before the murder, you kind of still were suggesting to him, hey, could we hold off and try getting pregnant? Do you remember that?
Yes.
But the defendant never really gave you an answer on that. Do you recall?
No, he never gave me an answer on it.
He didn't say, sure, let's try that, so we can keep killing mom as a last resort, nothing like that.
Yes.
All right. Of the plans, you mentioned that how the murder was to take place, that was all up to the defendant, correct?
That is correct.
And it was the defendant that told you he wanted to stab your mom.
Correct.
And it was the defendant that told you he wanted a knife.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
And he figured it would be easier for you to get a knife because you could steal it because you would be in the wheelchair, correct?
Correct.
And you knew that the defendant had researched knives online.
Correct.
And at first, he actually wanted you to get like a big machete type knife.
Yes.
But you didn't think that that would be a lot harder to probably wheel out of Walmart, is that right?
That is correct.
So, although he wanted the big machete, you basically saw a knife that you thought you could get out of Walmart.
Yes, sir.
And then you took a picture of that knife,
Yes, sir.
and you sent that to the defendant
Yes, sir.
to make sure that he approved of that knife.
That is correct.
And he did, ultimately.
Yes.
Do they sell
But
machetes
in
at
addition
Walmart?
to the knife, the defendant, since it was his idea on how to kill your mom, he also wanted tape and a taser, correct?
Yes.
And he wanted you to get those items for him.
Yes.
And at one point, you had communicated to him that you had gotten the tape, right?
Yes.
But you apologized to him that you were not able to get the taser.
Yes, sir.
And for him, the tape was so that he was going to be able to muffle your mom.
That is correct.
And the taser was to basically keep her from fighting back. Is that right?
That is correct.
So before June 10th, in preparation for the murder, fair to say the defendant wanted to take steps to muffle her,
That is correct.
and the defendant wanted to take steps to keep her from fighting back.
That is correct.
And I'll have you look over here a little bit about your plan afterwards. You wanted to
Machete
be
plus
able
Chris.
to go and live in Wisconsin, correct?
Yes, sir.
But you actually weren't crazy about going to Waukesha County or Big Bend where he lived, correct?
I do not remember.
Do you remember? Here, I'll show you. So if you see there, you're on both. See where it's pink and it says Gypsy?
Yes.
Looks like you kind of had an idea of wanting to go to Milwaukee. You thought sort of that bigger city might be appealing, correct?
I guess that is correct.
And it was the defendant that actually told you, no, I'd rather that we live here in Waukesha. And as you can see on the left, see on his text how it's blue and it says defendant over it.
Yes, sir.
Then after he shoots down Milwaukee, you basically say, okay, we can start looking for apartments in Waukesha. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And then when it came to the money, you can see here in this conversation on May 30th that you text him that with the $5,000 I have, we will be set. And he says, good idea, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at that time, you thought $5,000 would last you guys a long time, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you say that it's $5,000 you have, and he actually responds there on the left, dear, I know, but you mean our $5,000. You see that?
Yes, sir.
He wanted to make sure that you knew that wasn't your money, that was going to be your money together, correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, I was waiting.
Then you had some messages as the defendant was taking the cab from the Days Inn to your house, right?
Yes, sir.
And those texts pretty much led right up to him being at the door, correct?
Yes, sir.
And before he got to your house, he wanted to make sure that you were wearing something that he approved of. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And if you look there to your right, you agree that, and that's a little bit earlier in the evening, so you say that around 2, 3 o'clock is when your mom died, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that'd be the morning of the 10th.
Yes, sir.
So this is a couple hours before, not about 9 o'clock on the 9th, and he says that he expects you to look like his woman should, and he suggests red fingernail polish, correct?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember you actually told him you didn't have any red fingernail polish?
Yes, sir. I remember.
And so you came up, I think, was it with pink lip gloss?
Pink.
Okay,
Yeah.
pink fingernail polish.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also, as you can see up there on the right, he wanted you to wear red lipstick,
okay, bless.
and you didn't have any of that.
That is correct.
And that's, I think, where you settled on pink lip gloss.
Yes.
Okay. And then if you look up there to the right, you can see on the right where it's circled by defendant that he says So will you, or how do you wish to present yourself to him? Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And you don't answer him right away, and he asks you again there on the left to answer the question, right?
Yes, sir.
And then looks like from 9:25 to 10, you still haven't answered him, and he's asking you again, right?
Yes, sir.
But what he's waiting on an answer for is how you're going to be dressed when he gets there to kill your mom.
Yes, sir.
And you eventually answer him there at 10 that you'll be in a nightgown with painted pink nails and lip gloss, right?
Yes, sir.
And then he says to you, okay, but when he gets you from the bathroom, I suggest you are naked when he sees you after the deed. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
And while you were in the bathroom, you could hear your mom, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you heard her scream.
Oh my gosh, they
Yes, sir.
do sell them at
And
Walmart.
she screamed your name.
Yes, sir.
And
That's
once you were
crazy.
cleaning up afterwards, he wanted you to clean up, help clean up blood, right?
Yes, sir.
And he wanted you to clean naked,
Yes, sir.
because that kind of turned him on.
Yes, sir.
As for the, I'm jumping back just a second, okay? Going back real quick to your plans for afterwards when you were in Wisconsin, you had a pre-planned story that you were going to say in the event that you were ever caught, right?
Yes, sir.
And he came up with that story.
Yes, sir.
And so, considering the possibility of getting caught after the murder, the defendant told you of a story that you guys could come up with.
Yes, sir.
And actually, before the police arrested you in Wisconsin, you were hiding in the closet of Nick's room together, right?
That is correct.
And he confirmed with you to make sure that you have the story down.
That is correct.
You were asked on direct about the fact that you had provided the gloves, right?
Yes, sir.
And those were gloves that you already had at your house.
Yes, sir.
And if you go ahead and look over to your right, you see here, and this is about 1:30 a.m., you say to him, oh, you may not need to put the gloves on because we will sink it, so it's never found. You're talking about the knife, right?
Yes, sir.
And if you look there to the right, it's the defendant that tells you he is still going to put the gloves on, correct?
Yes, sir.
Even though you suggested he may not need them.
Yes, sir.
I'm almost done. When the defendant agreed to kill your mom, at some point he told you that he also wanted to rape her.
Yes, sir.
You did not want the defendant to rape your mom, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, in leaving the decision of how to kill her up to the defendant, you never told him to stab her 17 separate times, right?
No.
And you certainly didn't tell him to cut her neck down to the bone, right?
No.
And when he asked you about raping your mother, you actually talked him out of it, right?
Yes.
And you did so by offering the alternative that he would be able to rape you after the murder, correct?
That's correct.
I don't have any further questions here.
Thank you.
I still don't understand why she didn't have any clothes on
Nick ever raped you?
below the waist.
Dee Dee's not.
Dee Dee, that is.
Harry, let her have a drink first.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Did Nick ever rape you?
No.
And when you guys had sex after your mother's murder, was that consensual?
It started out as consensual, yes.
What do you mean it started out as consensual?
I told him to stop during sex, and he did not.
So you agreed to have sex with him consensual.
Yes.
Now, the prosecutor said that, asked you about this story, that, which was a lie, of course, about what you were going to tell law enforcement when, if you got caught, correct?
That is
And I
correct.
think you testified that Nick came up with that story.
That is correct.
Isn't it true that both of you
I'm
came
going to
up?
object to leading.
Judge, he's impeached the witness.
Are you going to reference something?
Yes.
Would you tell us the page number, please?
I'll have her.
Is that your
And I
recommendation?
also may ask clarification on when I impeached the witness. I don't recall that.
Judge, can I show her the deposition?
To see if it refreshes her recollection. Is that the purpose?
Yes.
Yes. And tell her the page number then, please.
Gypsy, I'm on page 79.
You turn to page 79, please. And I don't want you to read it out loud. If you'd read it to yourself, please.
I want to read her deposition.
I'm going to start with line 5.
Okay.
See line 5 on page 79?
Yes, sir.
Now, first of all, let's be clear what we're talking about. We're talking about a deposition that you gave on November 1st, 2018. You recall that, do you not?
Yes, sir.
The question
First,
on
2018.
line 5 is question. Did they just come into the room? You see that question?
Yes, sir.
There's a rather extended answer of your part. Would you go ahead and just read your answer in full?
Yes, sir.
And if you can't read, I apologize. You
I can read, yes, sir. No, they had armored vehicles outside. There were patrol cars all surrounding the house. They came in with a canine unit downstairs, and I remember that because I thought it was his dog barking, but it was the canine unit. And they kept saying, "Come downstairs, Nick Godejohn, you are under arrest. Come down with your hands above your head." And we both woke up at that point. I looked at him scared, and he said to get in the closet. So we both got into his bedroom closet, where we stayed there for a little while discussing what we were going to tell the cops. And I told him, "Let me go down first. Let me leave the closet." I told the officers I'm coming downstairs. They said walk to my voice, and I walked down the stairs. They grabbed me and put me in handcuffs, and they pulled me out into the yard and started asking me questions like, does he have any weapons? And I said no, and that was it.
And in this question and in your answer, you talk about this closet situation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And who did you say in that answer had come up with the story?
We did.
And that's the truth, is it not?
Yes.
I'm going to
It's
see if I
something you
can
both
get
discussed.
Yes.
that deposition
Wasn't just you.
transcript.
That was the both of us.
I'm going to kind of
Now,
work on
the
it
date that,
on another screen I have.
that your mother was murdered, was that the original date, or was it moved up?
It was moved up.
Who moved it up?
I did.
I'm going to object at this point, Your Honor. I believe these questions are outside the scope of the cross.
I'm going to allow it.
Why did you move it up?
He told me that the money was running out, and he didn't think that he had enough money for another night stay at the hotel.
Now, you talked a little bit about you had to clean up after your mother's murder. You did that voluntarily, correct?
Yes.
He didn't make you.
No.
What were you doing while your mother was being killed?
I was sitting in the bathroom, on the bathroom floor with my hands covering my ears.
And how did you know when it was over?
It was the code that we...
Non-certified copies of any of these cases is 25 cents per page. And that's, let's see, mailing requested records back to the requester. Well, I mean, I could easily pick those up, but let's see. There is charging documents, guilty plea agreement. Oops, wrong page. Entire case file, all public documents filed in the case, such as petition, charging documents, pleading motions, notice of hearings, correspondence, and judgments. Wonder if they can give me a quote on the entire case file. I should submit something and have them do a complete records request and have them quote me on the entire file. Maybe I'll do that.
settled on to use.
You settled on this code together?
Yes.
What was the code?
I believe it was 3 knocks and 2 scratches on the door
Why did you need a code?
to let me know when to come out of the bathroom.
Did you have any concerns about what might happen?
Yes.
What concerns did you have?
I was afraid that my mother would end up hurting him.
Now, this knife, why did you buy the knife at Walmart?
I did not buy it. I stole it.
I apologize. Why did you get the knife? How about
I
that?
did not buy it.
He asked me to.
And what was your understanding was going to happen to that knife, with that knife?
He was going to use it to kill my mother.
And you knew that when you went and stole it, correct?
Yes.
Now, there's been some discussion of some of these fantasies you had. These were all fantasies that the two of you had, correct?
Yes, sir.
Collectively.
Yes, sir.
You guys did this with some regularity, correct?
Yes.
And you willingly agreed to make these videos.
Yes.
And you also yourself wrote some letters, some stories that involved sex, am I correct?
Yes.
Wrote for him.
Yes.
And this reference to this agreement that you're going to be master slave, that was something you guys did together?
I'm going to check this whole line of questioning has been leading, and this is the defendant's witness. The rules are very clear on that.
It is our witness judge. I would like to rephrase the question.
Thank you.
So, okay. Whose idea was it to have this master-slave thing?
It was Nick's.
And did you go along with it willingly?
Yes.
Did you have a problem with it?
I didn't particularly like it, but I went along with it.
Now, you talked a little bit about this situation at the Cinderella movie. And I think you testified on cross-examination that your mother thought it was creepy that a 26-year-old was at a Cinderella movie.
That is correct.
Okay. How old were you during that movie?
23.
That's all the questions. No, Judge, actually, I'd like to make a record before we're done, but if the state has more recross, then we can do it after that.
All right.
Just a couple. That, when you were in the bathroom, you had mentioned the code that you guys had, right?
Yes, sir.
And actually, at some point, the defendant had warned you about coming into the bedroom while he was killing your mom, right?
Yes, sir.
Because he was worried that
You're always
his
so good.
evil side could possibly hurt you.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your help.
And the story that you all came up with, in the event that you were caught, you were asked a question and an answer from your deposition. Do you remember that?
Can you rephrase that?
Yeah, that was a terrible question. Mr. Perry had asked you to read an answer from your deposition. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
Would you do me a favor? Could you turn to page 68?
Yes, sir.
Right there.
Yes.
You see the very, very last line where the question starts, did you?
Yes, sir.
And the question is, did you and Nick have a story? And then you turn to the next page. That you guys had put together that if somehow you got caught, you were going to tell this one story. You see that question?
Yes, sir.
And what was your answer?
Yes, sir.
And then the question is, what was that story? You see that?
Yes, sir.
And what was your answer?
That my mother kicked me out of the house and that I called him to come pick me up because I was going to live with Nick and his mom.
And then the next question you see is, did you have a story of where you ran into each other? Did anything go that far that you recall? And what was your answer?
No, sir.
And then you see the question, who came up with this story? And what was your answer?
He did.
And also, if you would just look for a moment, going back to the text messages.
Can you see that in this?
Yes, sir.
And there on the left, it looks like this conversation takes place June 8th at about 1:23 p.m., right?
Yes, sir.
And you ask him, is it all good? You got the tickets, hon, right?
Yes, sir.
And then he says to you, dear, please go with the story I had told my mom and stepdad. You see that?
Yes, sir.
And then he responds again, yes, dear.
Yes, sir.
And then if you look there, you ask him, please let me know what story.
Yeah, that didn't make sense to
Yes,
me,
sir.
Lydia.
And then he says, I'll tell you in person, dear, because I'll be able to explain it better then. You see that?
Yes, sir.
And you say, okay, not saying a word on Facebook to anyone after that. But the story referenced in that is this story that you would tell if you were ever called.
Yes, sir.
No other questions.
Thank you.
Just a couple more and then we can make a record. He told you in that text that it was the story, quote, I had told my mom, correct?
Yes, sir.
I want you to go back to page 69, where you were just reading with the prosecutor. I want to read the very next question. If you can find, I think the prosecutor ended on page 69, line 13. You
Yes,
see the
sir.
very next question starting on line 14?
Yes, sir.
I'll read the question, you can read the answer. But you guys had agreed that this was a story you were going to tell should somehow you guys get arrested. Is that correct? What was your answer?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anything?
No.
Okay, Mr. Media, excuse
I'd like to make a record before we excuse the judge, real quick.
privately.
I think it has to be.
All right. You can put that microphone back if you'd like, Liz. Your hearing. You should not form or express any opinion about the case until it is finally.
Yep, that part's done. Okay. Man, it was interesting. Hearing it a second time, you hear things that you didn't hear the first time. I just, I fail to understand, like Lydia said, how she was trapped, you know? Herbie says, I just never know when I should believe her and when it's, yeah, same. And she has zero like remorse or reaction. It's, she's just so nonchalant about all of it. I mean, she's an only child, like from her mother. And she, I mean, she's just like not a care in the world that she took the life of the woman who raised her. I mean, she didn't really have much of a relationship with her father, from my understanding, and basically just wiped out what she knew, you know? I don't know. I don't get it. And how she can just have no emotion. I don't even understand how someone could take a life like that. But I don't think she's ever telling the truth. I mean, if this, she was raised with this fraud mentality, and her mom wasn't perfect by any means, but it doesn't mean that she needed to die, you know? I don't know. I mean, she was of the age she could have ran away. Does anyone know how long her probation is? I think she has 2 years left, doesn't she? Wasn't it her sentence 10 years and then she got out at 8? So she has 2 years left to serve. Now, if she breaks her probation, she would likely serve the rest of her time. That's, I mean, assuming that they wouldn't give her any lenience. But yeah, I don't know. I was going to pick up on the rest of the physicians, but one of them's an hour, the other one is an hour and a half. And then let's see. There's, oh no, just kidding. Then there's another, the same doctor. No, he testifies about 2 hours. So there's like 3 hours of doctor testimony and then closing arguments. Did she have like 10 years with so much probation after sentence? That would add the 2 years. Oh, are you saying like 10 years and like 5 years probation or something? Let me see. I have her thing open right now, but on her docket, well, let's see, this is hers right here. Let me see. Let me see. That's Nick's. Here's Gypsy's. Charges. Hers just says sentence, incarceration, 10 years, Department of Corrections. That's all it says. Let me look at the docket on it. It says, oh wow, people are still filling out records requests for her case. Let me look at her sentencing thing. It says defendant sentence 10 years, Department of Corrections, $68 crime victims fee and costs. And that's all it says. State appears by PA Patterson. Defendant appears from GCJ with Attorney Stanfield and Attorney Baker. State to e-file amended felony information. Defendant waives formal reading and enters plea of guilty per plea agreement and plea of guilty entered. Sentence and judgment, probation denied, filed herein. Orders as to assistance of counsel entered / file. Defendant remanded to the custody of GCJ for transfer to Department of Corrections. And that's it. Hey, Glennis. It's such a crazy sentence for someone that basically was the mastermind behind a murder. It's wild. Absolutely wild. And whatever she says now about, I mean, she could full on say, I did it. Like, I actually, like, stabbed my mom. I'm the one that committed the crime. And you can't, double jeopardy doesn't, you can't. Whatever she says, I mean, they could get her on some sort of fraud or, things like that, but she got off so easy. Carla, what does that say? Hold on. Hamalka? She made a plea deal, said she was abused, so she took part in murders after police found videotape showing all her involvement. She's free? Really? No, I haven't. What state was that in? That's interesting. I'm gonna screenshot. I haven't heard of that. I'll screenshot it and look. There's a couple other cases that I've been following. Basically since they were charged. Well, one of them, the couple, they weren't even charged yet. But as soon as this Gypsy stuff is done, I'm gonna go over those with you guys. She has a kid also. Are you talking about the Carla one? Huh. Yeah, that's there's so many people that get off so easy, and then you've got people that they just do something like a weed charge and they're in there for 20 years. Yeah, it's justice system can be, it can be screwed up. So, um, let's see. I've got an hour and a half to submit this FOIA. I'm going to submit something to the court and see if I can get any of this stuff and get a quote on the full file. But I don't know. Nick's file's probably huge. That's if I can even get it. I might have to just go to the courthouse and get on a computer myself. So, which, whatever, if I have to do that, I'll do it. So I'm going to end this stream and we can start on the doctor's testimony next time. We'll probably start that, I don't know, Monday maybe. Yeah, 'cause we'll start something like that Monday. And if I do anything else this weekend, it'll be, I don't know, something different. So, yeah, I know I'll be around this weekend. I've got to finish this office. It's taken me forever to finish. So, I know I'll be around and I'll see you guys soon. After I hit end on the stream, it's going to shoot you over to Kendra's stream on Chris Watts later this evening if you guys are interested in that. And I hope you have a great weekend if I don't see you later. And I appreciate everyone that's been here. And your support means a lot to me, especially with the change in direction I've taken. So, thank you so much. It means a lot. And I hope you have a great weekend. And I will see you again very, very soon. Take care.